Good evening once again. Let me see if I can get this thing here. All right, we're going to do a part two here with Santero David, and what we're going to talk about are sigils and investigate why these things have power. How can you draw a few lines on a piece of paper and this thing has some kind of ability to it or some kind of magical ability? With that said, I'm going to turn this over to Mr. or Santero David Longley and see what we can hear about the storm and take a thought. All right.
Okay. Okay. Well, let me say this to begin with. Being a Santero, when I came to North Carolina, I came back home again, actually. I got into a lot of other things, more spiritually connected to in a different manner. Um, uh, the Tree of Life, which is Kabbalah, and also Hermetism, which is the occult sciences. Let me say that the word occult means secret. It doesn't mean anything negative. A lot of people, when you use that word, they think that you're into voodoo or some black magic of some kind, and that's not really what it is. But I have combined various um, various teachings, I guess I can say, to expand and get into different areas, like the sigils and like magic. I will say one thing about it is that it requires a lot of reading and a lot of practice. And I can't tell you how many books I have read on magic, metaphysical, and spiritual. It's a vast body of knowledge is basically what I consider to call it. And again, I've been studying it for about maybe 5 years now. And I'm not going to say I'm proficient at it, but I now understand it. And the thing about sigils and magic is basically you're trying to manifest something. Not really anything different than the radionics box. It manifests in a different way, more of a manual, or how should I say, a piezoelectric situation. And so, what are sigils? Sigils are a means of contact for various entities, such as angels or demons. There are good demons and there are bad demons. This is a sigil. This one is, and you can see the, you would draw this on something and lay it on a table. You would also want to burn incense. You would want to have candlelight. Um, all of these things are put together to put you into a place in your mind where you are in a meditative state. In other words, you're ready to receive knowledge. And so a lot of people say, oh, I can't do that. I can't do that. Not everyone can do it. These days, we're bombarded by this, that, and the other, and our attention span isn't very long. But in my case, I live rather in an isolated area, so I don't have a whole lot of things that interfere with my workings and what have you. So, what is the power of the sigil? The power of the sigil is really something that you put into it yourself. It's kind of like automatic writing. The sigil that I just showed you is something that goes back a couple thousand years, actually, and it has been used all the way up into today. But it is a mind thing. Belief as a positive is a powerful thing. I don't think anyone would deny that. I've heard people, curing themselves of this and that because of their power of their mind. And I think that is very true. And again, I have to say, not everyone can do it because it takes a special practice. And I think it takes a long time to be able to put yourself into that mode of being. There are certain incenses you would use to summon angels or other occult entities. And certainly, if you're going to do Archangel Michael, say you're going to call on him for some help of some kind, you would put his sigil out there. You would light a special incense that is designated for him. You might even consult astrological charts to see which is a better time to try and contact him. Some entities prefer to be contacted during certain phases of the moon, or things of that sort. I heard something recently that kind of blew my mind because I didn't even think of it. But there is such a thing as a Lion's Gate. The Lion's Gate opens at a certain time in the month of August, I believe it is August 5th to August 11th. August 11th being the most powerful time to ask for what you want to receive. And that's something new that I learned. And I guess for each one of the zodiac signs, there is a portal that can be opened, and you can receive whatever information or whatever it is that you need at that particular time. Also, I think that as far as sigils are concerned, they're usually something that is drawn. I would have to say that sigils are really a mode of automatic writing. You're in a meditative state and you're moving the pencil according to a rhythm, perhaps, that you might be receiving. And that is something I've seen. You've seen it in Indiana Jones in the Crystal Skull. The guy does automatic writing, and that's primarily he's in another world altogether. Anyway, but that's basically what it is. The power of it is really what you put into it. If you put in a good positive energy into that ritual that you're practicing, that gives it the power. How can I say this in a way that makes any sense? You have to believe, and you have to believe very strongly that what you're doing is going to manifest into what it is that you want. And again, I say, not everyone can do this. It requires putting your mind into a space where it is singularly like a tunnel or tunnel vision. You go down that path into that thought process, and that is when you have the power. You're putting power into it. And at the same time, you can use crystals or stones. Each one of them have their own powers and how we say it, special uses for them. I'm reading right now Sacred Stones, and it's very interesting because it names these stones in the old what is it, the Greek lettering. And so I've had to translate Greek into English to figure out what stones they're talking about. But that's a practice that goes back hundreds of years, back to the Renaissance, and even medieval times. And it's as old as it's as old, maybe goes back thousands of years. The Egyptians practiced it, the Greeks practiced it. All of these spiritual things that I don't know how many of you are listening that watch Ancient Aliens. I'm a big buff about watching it. I even watch programs that I've seen 3 or 4 times because I pick up things that I haven't thought about and at the first time that I saw it, heard it. But it's magic is not what the magician does. Let's just put it that way. Magic that the magician does is the sleight of hand, and that's kind of a manipulation. And he's not making anything appear that by that means. He's doing it in a surreptitious way that you're not aware that he's doing it. And so it's a whole different story between magicians and the practice of magic and using sigils. Do you want to put a thing in that, Brad?
Well, I always like to preach that the magic is within you.
Exactly.
And that's where the true magic
Mhm.
lies. It's
Yeah,
not, it's don't depend on somebody else, depend on yourself. I mean,
exactly.
you have as much ability and probably if not more so than a quote unquote magician. The thing is, it's like anything else. You have to practice it. You have to exercise it. It's like, lifting 500 pounds. No, you're not going to walk into the gym and just
And
do it.
lift it
You have to
right
build up.
away.
Yeah,
No,
you have to build up
you
to it. You have
build
to
up to it.
exercise. Yeah, exactly. And so that is where it is. And then build up your talent. But I've met a lot of people. I personally, I don't think I'm any more psychic than a doorknob, but I have experienced things that I would consider psychic.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like precognition and that kind of a thing. But I don't know if that's just me or if I just I was able to capture the lightning in the bottle and it was just and tap into what we call infinite intelligence or
Hmm.
psychic phenomena or whatever.
The
I don't
Akashic
know.
record.
Yes, yes, exactly. And so that for me personally, that's where I've been at. But yeah, again, the magic is within you, and that's and for example, getting back to radionics, radionics like a sigil, yeah, it's a tool. It's
Tool.
a tool, and it's there to basically take what you already have and focus it toward a particular goal or objective,
Hmm.
and make it become a reality.
Hmm.
And that's what I look at these sigils for. Yes, they all represent certain entities. Michael or Raphael, Megatron. I mean, they could be whatever angels. I think you even have sigils there with 72
Yeah.
angels, and so yeah, they can represent these different angels, but truly, where's the magic at? The magic is just between you and the angel itself. I mean,
Hmm.
you're communicating with the angel. This is just a vehicle. This is, I guess, what a telephone number you could look at.
Yeah, that's a good way to explain the
Okay,
telephone number.
yeah, it's a telephone number to an angel, and you could deal with them. I mean, I've used things as like medals they're given by the Catholic Church to
Hmm.
communicate with angels. I mean, for example, my buddy, my go-to guy, quote unquote, is Michael, and that's just the one that for whatever reason, I personally resonate with. Out of all of them, that's the one that I seem to have a kinship with, if you want to put it that way. Um, but yeah, again, that's my feeling on what truly what magic
Hmm.
is and what magicians are. And I feel that people do not truly believe just how powerful they are. Getting back to what I said, I know I'm repeating myself, and this is for emphasis. They just don't realize how powerful they truly are. And I think the goal here is to try to give people a vehicle, a way
Hmm.
to tap into that power. And it's nothing. I don't consider. How could it be evil to deal with an angel? From in my mind, the angels are the quote unquote the right and left hand or right hand men of God. They're God's helpers.
Hmm.
They're the entities there to help mankind and help do the work of the Creator. Okay, how can that be evil? But then again, you go to the other side of the fence and you have the demonic. Now, my question is to you as a Santero, and I know you're in the light part of it. Why are people drawn to the dark when, from our point of views, the light is so much safer and easier to deal with? But why are people still drawn into the dark side of say, uh, 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 Santeria or voodoo or whatever it may be? What makes what where's the thing that's catching their eye and making them want to go that direction, in your opinion?
In my opinion, people are always looking for a shortcut and a fast fix. And I think a lot of times they are people are more aware of the dark side than they are of the light side. I think that's the big difference. And so that's why I think a lot of people turn to the dark side because they know it. This is something we've lived with all of our lives. There's always that the curse, and there's the negative, and there's the black. And so we're very familiar with it. And we know that people have used it for negative purposes, sometimes for benevolent purposes. But it seems that people are not educated enough in the light side that they automatically drift toward the black side. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
Yeah,
it
yeah.
does to me.
Okay, so you wouldn't say out of ignorance, it's just that their information level is to a degree where it has
Yeah,
that the PR kind of dropped the ball, or the
yeah,
public relations kind of dropped
yeah,
the ball on the
yeah,
light side
yeah.
maybe a little bit.
Well, a lot of this stuff has been
Hmm.
secretive, a great deal of it, and that's why I say the word occult means secret, and that's exactly what it was. It was kept away from people, where the black side was more obviously people saw it,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
so that's really the big difference.
Right, right. Yeah, I like I said, I just never really it just never really appealed to me personally. Have I seen it? Have I been around it? Of course. But for me personally, I just never I just didn't think use an old phrase, the juice was worth the squeeze. Okay, I just didn't think, whatever the positives were, if there were positives, it just wasn't worth the potential danger you were putting yourself in
Mhm.
when you dealt with the dark side. And I mean, from your point of view, from your belief system when it comes to Santeria, okay, if you're dealing with the dark side, do they seem like at the end they always collect whatever they give you
Oh,
plus interest?
of course,
They
of
always
course.
get it back.
That's the given for, excuse me, that's a given for any operation. You put into whatever it is, and you get out of whatever it is.
Okay.
You put good into it, you'll get good to it. If you're going to the negative side, you're putting in a negative idea, you're going to get a negative thing back.
Right, I follow
And
you.
so that's the way that works.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of like dealing with a machine. I mean, you could do either both good or evil. It just depends on what your intent is behind that particular operation,
Right,
or
right.
for lack of a better word. Okay. Yeah, and that's what I was thinking. And like I said, I just didn't, you probably remember that old rock group Kiss,
Ah,
Gene Simmons,
mhm.
he always dressed up like a demon, and everybody has to say, why do you do that? It says, because it sells.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it does. Again, it's what you're more familiar with.
Yeah,
You see it. You see it all the time. It has existed since time immemorial, and even today we still see it with our creative people, rock stars, and whatever. It's there. Uh, People don't really show you the white side.
yeah.
They kind of keep that secret.
Right. Yeah, I was just kind of curious about that. I wonder, like, especially these cathedrals, you'll have these gargoyles
Yeah,
on the top. I mean, what the hell is a gargoyle? And
yeah,
what's it there for? And apparently, it was there to scare away what evil spirits.
exactly, exactly.
Okay, it
Yeah.
was, so
Well, and interesting there too that you have a lot of elements working within that realm. Say you build the cathedral and you have the gargoyles here and yeah, the water spout, but there's something else.
right.
Also, the the cathedral or the church is usually built near a body of water, if not on top of water.
Okay.
It's designed to have a particular resonance. So, all of these things are something that is of a spiritual nature.
Hmm.
We think of the Om sound, A-O-M,
Hmm.
Om. Okay, you go into that cathedral, and that's what you're going to hear. You're going to hear that sound, and that sound can put you in a mode of spiritual enlightenment, if you will.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so, that's really it. You build this thing around yourself. When you're going into that meditative purpose I, ideal, you have your incense that uh, activates your nasal capacity. You might have a candle there. That's a light capacity. You have your water. That's another capacity. all of these things put together are very strong. And so, with that said, everybody can do that. There's no particular set way it can be done. It can be done. I've read a lot of manuals that, well, you have to have this, you have to have a white cloth, you have to have a black candle, or a white candle, or a green candle, or you have to this. No, you don't have to go through all that. You do not have to go through all that. It's all what you put into it in your mind. It's good to have sound. It's good to have light, because all those things are sort of like a reminder of where you're coming from or where you want to go. And so you're using your senses, your sense of sight, your sense of hearing, your sense of speech, your sense of touch, all of those things.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just basically just there to get you focused into the right mindset for a
In the
particular,
mindset,
whatever.
exactly,
Okay. Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. I mean, it sounds pretty simple. It's not that complicated, but I think people, it's like anything else, when something's a mystery, why is it a mystery? What are they hiding? Yeah, yeah, yeah. And, yeah, we both probably uncovered some of these mysteries. And at the end of the day, I just kind of like, I could understand, but what's the big secret?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Well, a lot of this too, it's kind of a way of controlling people also, and that's why I say it's important for you to find your own road
mhm.
on this. I mean, take Aleister Crowley. I mean, that's a real case.
Yeah, he's a piece of
You
work.
know,
Yeah.
but there are certain things within that practice that he's put forward that work.
Hmm.
But again, it is what you put into it. It's really what you put into it.
Right. And for example, I'm glad you kind of brought up Aleister Crowley. Okay, he's supposed to be one of the most the evil men
Yeah,
in the world, right? At one time. And sure, did he accomplish some great things? Yeah, I would say he probably did. But you got to look at his life. How did he end? He was in,
wasn't so good.
yeah, yeah, he was
Yeah.
an impoverished,
Mhm.
drug addict,
Mhm.
with probably every STD known to mankind. And so, anyway, so, but that's how Aleister Crowley, ended. That's how his life ended. But I kind of want to go a little
Well, he
bit.
abused it.
Yeah,
That's simple. He abused it.
yeah, yeah. And so, and again, why did he abuse it? Was it his personal ego, or was it?
I'd have to say it was his ego.
It was his ego. It had nothing to do with
I'm
like
sure.
enlightenment. It was just
No, no.
yeah, because I think a lot of it was like you and I discussed earlier, it goes back to the control factor.
Hmm.
You're trying to
Yeah,
control people.
exactly.
Uh,
And that attracts people.
yeah,
They know that you have the means, and that's a control.
yeah,
And so he builds the space to attract people.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't try to control anybody. I try to negotiate where it becomes a win-win. In other words, you try to get somebody to your point of view on something, show them how that by joining forces together, that it will benefit them equally. When you do
Mm-hmm.
that, it becomes a positive thing. It's
Yeah,
not a
yeah,
control
yeah.
thing. It's kind of like, and I was having a conversation with somebody, about uh slavery. I don't care. Slavery still goes on all around the world to this
Mm-hmm.
day. And the thing that really ended slavery in this country was an economic thing. They realized it was cheaper just to hire them than to enslave them and to
Mm-hmm.
control them. It was cheaper just to give them a job.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's truly, it was an economic reason as to why
Mm-hmm.
slavery ended. It
Yeah,
had nothing to do with the morality of it. Yeah, you and I, we could argue about the morality of it all day long about how it's not a positive thing to try to own another
mm-hmm.
human being. But at the end of the day, it was the economics of it that made it become
Yeah.
a non-issue.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes back to the control thing. Hell, I'd rather work with somebody than try to control them.
Yeah, really.
Why the
Yeah.
hell do you want to do
Well,
that?
speaking of that, I was a framer for many, 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 many years, and I had a certain way of doing things, and it worked well for me. I found that having a helper was not helping.
Uh-huh.
because I had my certain way of doing it and they had theirs, and there was a conflict.
Right.
I felt my way was better, more efficient, etc., than that way.
Right.
And so, there you have it.
Right, exactly. Yeah, whenever I work with somebody on something, if I always, especially if they have a different way of doing stuff, I just say, just do the job. I don't care how you do it,
Yeah,
just do the
yeah,
job.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's how I have to work with people. I don't work well with others either,
I know. I can under certain circumstances, yes, I can.
Yeah.
But under other circumstances, no, I
Uh,
can't.
yeah, I have a hard time living up to my expectations.
Yeah, yeah, I've been there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but again, it's just one of those things where you kind of wonder about it. But to sum this up, magic, it's you. We're something we're all born with. And I keep telling people, the magic, you have the magic because of your DNA, because you're a creator. And if you really want to know where the code is, where it all stems from, it's your human DNA. That's part of the magic, is part of the package.
Exactly. And we don't see all that's in that package. There's
Hmm.
a lot of stuff in that package that we're not aware of
Correct.
and that we can access. Yeah, we can access. I think medical science is now getting to the point that they understand that there are capabilities within all of us that we haven't even used.
Uh-huh. Yeah, exactly. I think we're just starting to, delve into it. And that's one of those things that, this project that I have a few lucky people out there that we're all working on, and that is tapping into quantum computers. And people say, well, why are you trying to tap into a quantum computer? Because I look at it as a resource. That's what it is. It's simply a resource. There's nothing good, nothing bad about it. It's just a resource. It's there as a vehicle to help you do other things. And radionically, that's what we're trying to do. And so the point of this is, you have so much available at your fingertips to tap into.
Hmm.
And people think, oh, you have to physically do this. No, you can do a lot of
They
things.
want it to be easy.
Yeah, yeah. You make it more, people have a tendency to make things more
More
complicated than they have
complicated.
to be.
Yeah.
And really, the universe enjoys novelty, but it also enjoys simplicity.
Hmm. Hmm.
And you and I, we've been around uh, quite a few years, and I've always found I had the most joy for the things that were so tiny.
Hmm.
There's those little things that I found the most joy in. They could not. There was no price tag for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so anyway, that's kind of where I'm coming from. And that hopefully that kind of makes sense. But is there before we
Well,
close here, is there anything else you want to add to this?
I think, given the current atmosphere of our world, and knowing that we're in the age of Aquarius, where we're supposed to be getting a lot of knowledge, yes, we have gotten a lot of knowledge and we've gotten a lot of wisdom in these past decades. But I think there's more, and again, it's within all of us. It's just a matter of tapping into it or
Hmm.
being aware enough to tap into it. And some people ain't aware that they're even here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I call them NPCs. I've met my fair share. I kind of wonder, what is your function?
Yeah,
What is
yeah.
the reason for you to be here?
Our function is to grow and to gain knowledge. That's what life is all about.
Yeah, yeah, it's a giant university.
Yeah, yeah,
That's what
yeah.
you're here for.
Hmm.
And that's what I came up with. It was a sum total. I mean, why the hell am I here? What is the
To
reason for
learn.
my existence? And that is to learn.
Hmm.
And yeah, and I think we're given certain limitations, but we're given a lot of advantages.
Hmm.
And it's up to the individuals to whether or not they're going to take up those
Well,
opportunities.
some people realize that early on in their lives, and other people don't catch on to it at all.
Uh-huh.
I feel fortunate that I'm going to say this all began in my 50s.
Uh-huh.
So, it's only been 30 years
Right.
that I've actively been seeking it because I was drawn to all kinds of other material things
Right.
that seemed to make sense at the time. But now I realize, oh, if I had that time back and knew what I know now, what I could have done.
Exactly. Exactly. And the world, life is full of woulda, shoulda, coulda.
Yeah,
And but again, everything you've done is is what led you to where you are today.
exactly.
And so yeah, I could have done better. Sure. Could I have done worse? Sure. Am I happy with what I've done so far? Sure.
Hmm.
You know, I've reached a personal contentment. How about that?
Yeah, that's good. I
Yeah,
feel
yeah,
good with it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, anyway, I guess on that note, we're going to call it a show. And but once again, David, thank you for coming on the air with me about this because especially people were getting a lot of questions about this, some of the things that are going on right now in this country with certain people from a certain location, and I'm glad you were able to kind of give a little insight
I
of
had
that also.
a mentor recently, and she said something to me that has stuck with me. She said, "Be aware,"
Oh,
and I think that was a good thing. I'm aware. I
yeah.
see things for the first time, and I'm so thankful for it.
Yeah, yeah. I think the military they call it situational awareness.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
So,
Well,
people, be aware out there.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Be aware. And once you,
Magic is all around you.
yeah, no joke. Yeah, we're born with it. All right, my friend. Well, I appreciate it. And on that note, we're gonna call this a show.
Okay,
All right,
thank you.
bye.
I think that was good.